think it transcends to other metals, perhaps? Silver, for example, that's needed for the electrification process as well. Do you see potentially automakers coming in and taking a position in silver miners?
If that's the only way they can secure or feel they can secure supply, yes.
Well, you also happen to extract silver.
Yes.
At your El Gallo mine in Mexico and the San Jose mine in Argentina also extract silver. So if this trend persists into automakers and other end users of silver, which is required for the decarbonization movement and the greenification, coming and consolidating supply lines, what is your outlook then for the price of silver?
It usually follows gold. It's trading at a large exchange rate to gold right now, and as gold climbs, silver usually climbs with it. It's a monetary metal, and that exchange rate shrinks. We got down to about 30 to 1 at one point. We're around 90 to 1 right now.
Gold to silver ratio around 86, I believe, last time I did the math, yeah.
And so if it got to 30 to 1 or 50 to 1, you'd have a nice run in silver. It's an industrial metal as well as a monetary metal.
A nice run translates into what price estimate for silver? You know, I always like to get a number out of you, Rob.
I know.
Links for good headlines.
Well, I mean, if you're at 5,000
for gold
and you're 50 to 1, you're probably sitting around $200, $250.
$250 silver in the next 3 years.
That might be a little aggressive.
Yeah, a little aggressive.
Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, I'm not sure where that guy went to school. Maybe I'm missing something, but if he thinks gold's at $5,000 and the ratio is going to be 50 to 1, then the price of silver, he said, would be around $200. Call me crazy, but shouldn't it be closer to $100? I think is what he meant. There is something taking place within the precious metals industry that very little people are talking about, and I think it is very important to bring it up. So let's get started and talk about where the future for metals is going to be. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, check out our friends at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $200, you will get an additional ½ ounce of silver with your order. Just follow the link down below in the description. No promo codes are needed. You can find me on other social media platforms like Facebook. I do have my own group called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrency, as well as foreign currency investments and any other investments you wish to talk about. Come on over here. It's free to join. Just follow the link down below in the description. I can be found on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, Odyssey, and now Rumble. Yes, that's right. I finally got a Rumble. And in addition to that, you can find me over here at Pimpy's News Network. If I should ever get kicked off YouTube, you can find me on any other one of these platforms. So come join me. It's free to do so. The links for all these locations are down below in the description. So come on over and join me. Right now, people should really be focusing in on precious metals. There's only a handful of people who are picking up on something that's happening with the precious metals industry. You see, in the olden days, whenever somebody like Tesla wanted to buy silver, well, they had to go buy it from something like the comics. But they're getting wise. They're finding out that it's cheaper for them to buy into these precious metals mines. I know that when Elon Musk moved his headquarters over to Texas, he'd also had a bunch of warehouses built to store silver. And he was going to buy millions of ounces of silver. And I don't know if he ever did do that. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But instead, he wised up and he's looking to, if he hasn't yet, buy into more than one silver mine because he's going to need the silver. So for his portion of ownership, Obviously, he's going to take it in precious metals so that he has the material necessary to make his electric cars. And not just that, but he wants to buy into gold mining and any other precious metals where he is going to need for his cars. So he's going to be investing into mines. And he's not the only billionaire out there doing this. You know, these people are starting to realize that these precious metals are getting a little bit on the scarce side. There's not enough money invested into silver for mining. And it would be way more cheaper for them just to invest into the company and then own refineries. And that's exactly what they're doing. So Elon Musk is looking into buying into precious metals. Into the 4 ones you see right here on the screen, you got copper, silver, iron, and gold, as well as refineries. There's other car dealers from overseas that are looking to do the same thing. It's a wise choice if you think about it. Now, what's that got to do with us? Well, simple. If these rich people are buying into these mines and refineries, well, that means a portion of the mined material goes to them, which means there's less in the hands of the public. Get where I'm going with this? China started a trend. They started buying into gold mines. And then India started doing some. And I'm sure there's other countries doing the same thing. But not just that. I mean, manufacturing companies are rethinking about their approach to holding precious metals. And that is, why buy the metals from these middlemen when I could just buy the mining company myself and the refinery and then have the precious metals whenever I need them, which is really smart. And I know the one metal I don't talk enough about is copper. It's like $4 a pound, I think is what it is. We'll look at it here in just a moment. I've heard more than one expert over the last couple months talk about there's an issue with copper and there's going to be less of it available for people outside of Russia and their allies. You know, it's really starting to put the United States in a serious pickle. A lot of companies now are looking into buying ownership into mines, and that's something that should be spoken about a little bit more because this means there's going to be less for the public. So it's good if you're a stacker. And people keep asking me, Pimpy, how much time do you think we got? I said, well, once again, don't focus on the prices. They're driving them down. That doesn't mean nothing. This is the time. Right now is the time to be stacking silver. Now I was thinking like this is going to be the year in which you're going to really start to see precious metals take off. Towards the end of August, all of a sudden they're going to start running again. So if that happens, I'm looking, maybe the next 6 months. I was listening to a guy who talks about stocks all the time. I love what he has to say. The way he does his research into a stock is unbelievable. But he said overall, he said NASDAQ and Dow, you're going to see drop 30-40% before the end of this year. And I was like, oh man, if that's the case, then gold and silver is going to shoot up big time. And he gave his reasons why. Part of it was that the government is lying to us about data. They're just flat lying. This is the time to be buying into precious metals. That gentleman that we heard at the beginning of this video, usually, traditionally, historically, the ratio, that is a number of silver ounces to have 1 gold ounce, is 15 to 1, 15 to 1. But it has been higher lately, which means you should be buying silver. The ratio is too high, okay? It's around, 86 to 1, I think is what she was saying. So 86 ounces to 1. You want to start buying silver. Gold prices never come down to silver to close that ratio. It's always silver goes up to gold. If anything, you see silver start to really take off and try to catch up to gold. It's not going to happen right away. But, I figure you got about 6 months to stack as crazy as you possibly can. And then we'll see what happens from there. Cryptos, I give up on cryptos. And that is because all the time there's one damn thing after another. And I said this was going to happen. The government is slowly but surely going to start finding ways to tear down the crypto industry. They go into one exchange, they investigate them, bad news. They go into another, charge people, go into another platform and another platform, and it affects the crypto markets. So what is the latest and the greatest today? Why are cryptos dropping like hot potatoes? Well, Silvergate Capital to shut down and liquidate all of its cryptos. In other words, they're putting them all out there on the market. They don't want to have cryptos in their portfolios no more, so they are liquidating it, which is dumping a crap load of cryptos onto the market. Let's take a look. You can see Bitcoin down to 20,344. $1,600 drop, man. That's pretty big. Ethereum's at 1,439. XRP, the New World Order, the New World Order coin, it's at 37 cents. Cardano's at 30 cents. Hex at 5 cents. Polygon's at $1. Dogecoin's at 6 cents. Solana is at $17.20. Polkadot is at $5.37. Litecoin, man, talk about a hit. They're around 90 something dollars, but they're down to $75.82. Shiba's at 4010. So all of the cryptos are being affected. Luna Classic is at 301. It has been dropping. Of course, it's affected just like all the other cryptos out there. This is the 5-day. Let's look at the last month. So remember, they started to make a small rebound here. This is in September. It got up to 304. I was excited about it. But for the most part, it manages to stay within the same range. I'm going to hold on to my Luna Classics. I do think that cryptos have another small run into them. I don't think it's going to be anything major. You know, Bitcoin is going to be at least twice of where it's at now, unless it picks up some kind of steam that pushes it past that 40,000. I don't see it getting higher than that. I think there's one more run before all hell breaks loose. Had cryptos held up during the market crash, people felt they can trust cryptocurrencies. The prices would be a lot better. But people are getting wise now. They're tired of it. It's too boring. Nothing has happened. If I'm going to have money invested in something that's boring, I'd rather have it into gold and silver. Satama is at 2015. It was at 2018. It's dropped as well. Obviously, it's down 7.54%. But again, Satama hangs around the same level. 0.0015, 16, 18, somewhere around that range. Somebody's asking me, Pimpy, what's going on with the ruble? Well, you know, this got a whole new set of sanctions. Look, you know, people need to wake up. They're purposely trying to do regime change over there. You see Britain now demanding everybody go and fight in a war against Russia. It's time to, and now threats of a coup are being heard. Ukraine saying, look, we can't hold out much longer. You guys keep using this to do your war, but now the American sons and daughters have to come over and die just like the Ukraine soldiers, what he said. Trump keeps us out of wars, but leave it to the establishment to continue to try to push us into wars. It's really sad. God willing, if all goes right, and we have less than 2 years before the big dog gets back in there and we get out of this crap. So the ruble is down. It was at 0.017. It is down to 0.013. But don't give up on some of these currencies, and I'll tell you why. All the experts that I respect and listen to are saying that it's just a matter of time before you really start to see the dollar crash. People are starting to de-dollarize as soon as a major announcement comes out that people are going more towards a gold-backed, whether it's a digital dollar or any bucket of currencies. That's a lot more safer to do than just relying on one currency. It's going to make the US dollar drop. Now I said it's going to drop 30, 40, 50%. I wasn't lying. I still think it's going to do that. So as that dollar devalues, on the other hand, gold and silver are going to go up once the dollar starts to crash. The reason why they are where they are is because the Feds keep lying to us and telling us there's a strong dollar out there when we know that's not the truth. So here we go. Cryptocurrency prices and news. Bitcoin cryptos fall after Silvergate Bank liquidation news. Cryptocurrency news. So cryptocurrency's price fell Thursday following Wednesday's announcement that Silvergate Capital is shutting down and liquidating its crypto-friendly subsidiary, Silvergate Bank. Bitcoin sank to a new 7-week low. It said last Thursday evening, a group of U.S. senators announced an investigation into the top crypto exchange, Binance. So you have Silvergate closing out and liquidating. You have now investigations going into Binance. And we knew this was coming. For a host of alleged illegal activities, including money laundering and avoiding U.S. regulations. Now, Binance has been going through this crap now for years. They've been accusing them of doing this, but they're over there in China, if I remember correctly, or somewhere over there where they're untouched, where this guy is untouchable. So I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do to them. The best they could probably do is shut them down here in the United States to prevent anybody from using them, and maybe other countries might follow. But either way, it's going to affect the crypto market. So again, another bit of news that's just going to cause the crypto markets to crash. So Bitcoin fell down to $20,000 approximately. Instead, the world's largest cryptocurrency is up about 22% so far this year, following FTX collapse in early November. Ethereum is down, and none of this should be surprising news to anybody. Once something like an exchange is being investigated, or they file criminal charges against people behind an exchange, then all of a sudden people panic and they get rid of their cryptocurrencies. And it's going to affect the market. The fact that you got Silvergate Bank liquidating everything, that just floods the markets with whatever amount of cryptos they had out there. Gold closed today at $1,830.90. It's up $17.10. Why is that? Oh, wow, everybody left out of cryptos and went back over to gold. You know, crypto prices started to creep up. Heck, I was even cheering for them. And, you started to see a small dip in the gold and silver, but nothing ever too major, nothing to really be concerned about. But now that you see people rushing out of cryptos, they're going to go right back into gold. $1,830.90 an ounce. Silver's at $20.05. It took a pretty good little hit, but it went up 3 cents today. Nice. Silver is affordable. Right now is the time to start buying and stacking. I can't stress this enough. If you have an opportunity to buy more silver, buy. Here's the one metal that I don't talk about, and I should. And that is copper. Copper is at $4, and I think it is a pound. I'm trying to figure out how to really invest in the copper without actually having it physically, because if you think storing silver is a hard thing to do, you can get so much copper for so cheap, it's not even funny. Like you see, Dow Jones is down 543.54. S&P is down 73.69. The NASDAQ is down 237. So where do you plan on having your money? For those of you who had your 401ks and your IRAs, if that isn't enough to wake you up and make you realize you need to do something, because you guys are hemorrhaging money right out of your retirement funds. And I know there's a lot of you going, but if I take my money out, what happens if it shoots back up and I lose an opportunity and gold and silver goes down? Look, all investments are risky, but I'm not looking short term. I'm looking long term. If you think the markets are going to rebound anytime soon in a major way, you are sadly mistaken. As a matter of fact, like I said, that guy was anticipating a 30-40% crash before the end of this year. If he's right, just saying. Let's listen to a little bit more from Kitco. This is Rob McEwen. Let's listen to what he has to say about gold here real quick.
All the monetary stimulation and low interest rates are coming back to roost. It's in the next, I'd say, few years that we're really going to see the impact of that. We've had enormous speculation in financial assets as a result of the low interest rates and the amount of monetary stimulation. And unfortunately, the monetary stimulation wasn't isolated to one country or a group of associated countries. It seemed to be a global impact. And so there was all sorts of misallocation of capital. And with the higher interest rates, the speculative element is starting to come out of the market. And that's going to drive people to some of the hard assets, foods, energy, metals, are going to be, in my mind, the place to make your investment going forward, at least for the next 4 or 5 years.
Especially food. There's already food shortages happening on the coast. It's nothing dramatic. I was expecting it to be a lot worse, but again, we haven't hit that pivotal point yet. I don't know if you're paying attention, but magically there are train cars derailing everywhere, leaking chemicals into our water all over the place. Yeah, go figure.
But beyond that, we've also discussed the trend of de-dollarization and the potential for there to be an alternative reserve currency, potentially a collective currency between the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Saudi Arabia wants to join that formation and potentially backed by a basket of commodities. This is a theory that Frank Giustra was one of the very first to mention on Kitco News, and more people are saying that, we're probably going to see that happen. I know last year that when you and I chatted about it, you said that was a likelihood in your mind as well. Do you see that trend gaining momentum?
Well, the dollar has enjoyed a premium in the market ever since Bretton Woods, when all commodities were valued in dollar terms, and anyone who wanted to buy a commodity had to buy dollars first to buy the commodity. We're seeing it was Russia and China that first came along and started saying, well, we want you to use rubles or wons to buy. Those currencies still do not have the breadth that the dollar has in terms of usage. But as you pointed out, there are other countries that are lining up behind and saying, well, we'd like to enjoy the benefits that the dollar had, being able to be the reserve currency. I don't think we're quite ready for that, but the cracks are appearing along the wall. And
he's right. The cracks are starting to show. And I feel good about the fact that a lot of my listeners have swapped their investments over into gold and silver. And like I said, don't watch the price every day. You'll pull your hair out, okay? You don't need to do that. Just hang back, hang tight. You'll reap the benefits later on. I know we've been talking about this happening now for quite some time. But it's there. You know, the end of the dollar as a reserve dollar. The fact that China and Russia are talking about pulling away and de-dollarizing, they're already dumping off a lot of the U.S. debt, both of them. And this is why you're seeing Biden and freaking Lindsey Graham, all these neocons pushing for war. You got that, that one minister over there in the U.K. saying that they need to strike Russia and they need to do it quickly. What? They're talking about using nuclear weapons. I'm not even kidding you. Look, this whole great reset is counting on a lot of things that happen, and it isn't happening quick enough. So I could see them wanting to turn to nuclear weapons to get what they want accomplished.
And the sanctions that are being placed on these countries will just accelerate that demand.
Yeah, the weaponization of the US dollar
Yes.
will ultimately lead to it being dethroned as the sole or primary global reserve currency, is what seems to be an increasingly popular opinion amongst many guests. Not necessarily rooting for it, but just highlighting it. What do you think that could mean for commodities typically priced in dollars, like gold, for example? We're going to leave the petrodollar out of this conversation because that's a whole other can of worms. But what do you think it could mean for gold and copper and other commodities that are typically priced in the dollar?
Going up. It's just, that's been the dominant role, but you're watching gold in other currencies being higher. You'll go back to a period before the euro. I mean, the world used to play all sorts of currencies, and then we standardized, made the euro and then the dollar, and those were really the two. And commodity prices are going up all over the place.
Right.
I think we're heading back into that space where we have multiple currencies, and the hard assets will increase in value as the dollar drops in relative value to the other currencies.
And that goes back to what I stated before. All those other currencies that are crashing because of the so-called strong U.S. dollar, all they're trying to do is use the U.S. dollar as a weapon to crush these other currencies and make these other countries more and more reliant on the U.S. dollar. But eventually, that's going to change. You're going to see something happen, and then it's going to come back and bite the U.S. in the ass, which means all those other currencies are eventually going to start to gain in strength against the dying U.S. dollar. Anyways, you guys, let me know what you think down below. I'll look forward to your comments, and I'll catch you later. I'm out.